Hall, sponsored by Councilmember Waters and accompanied by Councilmember Letitia Johnson. As you're coming in, I ask that you fill in the seats in the front row, fill in the seats next to you. Let's get nice and cozy because this is going to be a learning experience. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Johnson for opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. This is a hot topic. It is a very hot topic, not only in the city of Detroit, not only in the county, but throughout the state, throughout the country, believe it or not. And so we're delighted to bring this information to you. I hope you all have paper and pen because it's a lot of great information that will be shared this afternoon. As always, I encourage you to not only gather the information for yourself to make sure you're able to protect your home, but to also share the information with others. This is information that everyone needs to be aware of so that we can help protect not only ourselves, but our neighbors as well. I am always making sure that we do everything we can to help stabilize our communities, and us staying in our homes is part of that solution. So please, 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 if you don't have a pen, we have pens at the table. Make sure you are jotting down information because we have unfortunately seen properties in the district that have experienced deed fraud. And so this is a topic that my colleague, Councilmember Mary Waters, feels very deeply about. And I'm just elated that she is now taking this conversation throughout every district in the city of Detroit to make sure all of our residents are aware and that we also learn how we can protect ourselves and our homes. So please give a round of applause for Councilmember Mary Waters and her team. And Councilmember Waters will be joining us shortly, but we certainly didn't want to delay the information because it is a lot, and we will be here to provide the information to you all. And with that, I would like to turn the floor over to none other than Joanna Underwood, who's the Senior Policy Analyst for Councilmember Mary Waters.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Hey, District 4, how you doing? What up, though? Hey, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that we are doing this for the citizens of Detroit. Deed fraud is real, and it is affecting people in this city. We came to District 4 and all the districts. District 4 was one of the highest numbers of deed frauds, 94 cases reported. 94 homes lost in this district alone. Those are the ones that just reported. It could have been many more, but people didn't know what to do or where to go when this happened. It's not a lot of information out here. And so, like Member Johnson said, it's going to be very intense deep dive into deed fraud, but also overall housing discrimination and injustice in the city of Detroit. Okay, so we're going to give you the tools that you need to provide protection of your home, and it's going to require a community effort. You don't know you've been robbed until you rob. That's the problem with this situation. You don't know until you've been robbed that you robbed. So the only thing we can do is prevent. But we do that by knowledge, because knowledge is what? Power. That's right. So I'm going to explain how we got here. Well, it's a long story how we got here, but I only got so much time to tell you. So I'm going to try to speed this up. And I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I want to give your honest opinion. How many people in this room are homeowners? Okay. How many people in this room bought your house 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Okay. How many people, before they came to this meeting, looked at your deed? You see everybody's hands supposed to have been up. How many people, before you came to this meeting, looked at your deed? Okay, she said she don't even know where hers at. You see what? So, okay. So if you don't know where your deed at, let me ask this question. How many people in this room know the difference between a quick claim deed and a warranty deed? Oh, okay. Some of y'all know the difference between a quick claim deed and a warranty deed. How many people just don't know? How many people bought their house in cash, cold money? Okay, okay. How many people was approved for a mortgage loan? How many people paid that house off? How many people in the room got mortgage-free property? That means mortgage-free property. That means you ain't paying no note, but only but property taxes. That's the best property to own. Okay. And this presentation, all this information applies to property and land. So how many people have side lots? How many of you bought your side lots in cash? How you receive a deed? What kind of deed you got for those side lots? Quick. Okay, I would just want to keep up. So you gotta know what you bought. Your deed is your receipt. If you don't know what deed you have, I guarantee you, if I ask you how much you pay in property taxes, raise your hand. Everybody know that, right? But you don't know what deed you have. So how you know you own your property? Because your deed says so, right? But what if I tell you if you got a quick claim deed, that's not a guarantee that you own that property? If I tell you a quick claim deed do not guarantee ownership, what would you think? You would say, well, they gave me a deed, right? But if you don't know the difference between a quick claim deed and a warranty deed, you don't know the fact that a quick claim deed do not guarantee ownership. It guarantees that transfer of interest into the property.
We'll play it by ear. That's all.
So whoever had interest in the property, transfer it over to you. You don't know if they own that interest. So if I sold you a house and I said, okay, you just pay me in cash or whatever, and I'm just going to give you a quick claim deed, I might not even own the property. How would you verify? Because I got an LLC and you met me in the office? What in the register deeds office, all they do is record deeds. How would you know? How would you know? No, property transfer affidavit is when after you bought the property. Who said title search? That's right. And we have somebody named Emma that loves to break that down, okay? So housing discrimination is real. We in a Black American History Month. The Black American community been a victim of housing discrimination since the conception of housing industry, okay? The banks in our community is supposed to operate as financial lending institutions. Unfortunately, they operate as money warehouses. They just take your money and warehouse it. What do I mean by that? I mean that the much money that you put into the bank, the much money they're supposed to lend out. They lend out based upon mortgage loans, not just car loans, business loans. You're supposed to get more than just a car loan from your bank. You're supposed to get a mortgage loan. You're supposed to get a business loan. Okay? So unfortunately, since the early conception, before we had the Fair Housing Act passed, majority of African American people had to buy their homes in cash because they was denied mortgage loans. Also, redlining contribute to a lot of that too. So I want you to understand that it's not necessarily nobody fault as far as you did not know real estate transaction, because you had a whole industry that really didn't want to do business with you unless it was in cash. That was the only way. And either it was through a cash transaction or a land contract. That's how majority of our elders was able to purchase property, okay? When you do real estate transaction in cash or through land contract, 9 out of 10, they're going to give you a quick claim deed, which is not the best deed to do real estate transaction. when you do real estate transaction, usually come with a mortgage, they would guarantee you what? A warranty deed. A warranty deed ensures the buyer that this been a title search, which means that title is clear. Also, the person that's selling you the property actually owned the property, and that you have a free title to take out a small home improvement loans. If you go and take out a loan with a quick claim deed, first thing the bank's gonna do, they're gonna say, we need to clear that title, because they want to know that you are the owner. Usually, quick claim deeds is done through a property transfer through family. So if you my mama or you my cousin and we know each other, I got grandma's house or I inherit grandma's house, I could pass it down to you. All right. But if I'm a perfect stranger, you don't know me from Adam and Eve, and I try to sell you a property with a quick claim deed, the first thing you need to know is that, hey, do this person really got true ownership of this property? Because quick claim deed only transfer the interest. The interest. It could be divided up. It could be a couple people on that deed. Okay. So what this information session is designed to do is to thoroughly educate you on how to properly do real estate transaction, because that's something that is lacking in our community. The second thing this information session is going to help you do is to better protect your property and your lots. And also the third thing is going to be able for you to do is spread this information to your neighbors, to your friends, your church, because it's going to take a community effort to protect our homes and property here in the city of Detroit. I'm going to ask the elders this. Do you want to be the last generation of Black American homeowners to own property here in the city of Detroit? Are you sure about that? So can I ask you a question, pretty please? Can you consider estate planning? Can you consider giving the people you trust power of attorney to make sure your affairs is handled? Would you consider doing a Lady Bird deed to avoid probate court? So your family don't have to be fighting and arguing over that property? Okay. So that's what I'm asking for you to do. Do it today, not tomorrow. To have that conversation. We all got to go. We don't know what day and what time we got to go, but we know we got to go. So make sure your property and land is secure. And when you can rest at peace knowing that all the hard-earned money you invested in that property is going back to your family and not a real estate investment company with a multi-million-dollar portfolio who's coming to buy property here in the city of Detroit by any means necessary. Okay? I thank you so much. I'm going to introduce my colleague, the Chief of Staff, Santana Hill, and she's going to talk about more about entanglement title.
Thank you so much, Ms. Underwood. But before we do that, we got to give it up for our council member at large, Mary Waters. Councilmember Waters, remarks.
Wow, that was a lot of drama. That's Santana for you. All right. So hello, everyone. Listen, I am not going to hold you up. I'm just happy to see that you're here so that you can receive this most valuable information. It is about generational wealth. It is about legacy. It is about dignity. So having said that, we're going to do all that we can. And I'm so grateful for our panelists that are here to make sure that you're educated enough so that you can protect yourself, including the Registered Deed Office will talk about how you sign up for the alert system as well. People in Lansing are also working on next steps. This is a national issue, you know, and after we started deed fraud here, I received a video from some folks out of New York, and their city council was going through this whole thing with deed fraud, targeting Black communities. And that's what they're doing. So let's beat them at their own game. Let's find ways to protect ourselves, our property, our legacy. And again, I want to thank you so much for being here. You've heard from my member Johnson already, right? All right. Okay, then. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilmember Waters. And I would also like to acknowledge any members of the mayor's staff as well as county staff. If you could just stand and we'll give you a round of applause. Thank you so much for keeping your hands on the pulse of what's going on in the community. Thank you so much. Team Ombudsman, thank you for coming as well. Now, this is designed to be an educational session, as Joanna mentioned. What that means is you're going to hear things and you may not know what they mean. And you're going to have questions that you may need answered. Why is protection against deed fraud important? The way Michigan law is set up is that it allows you to transfer property through a variety of ways. And those variety of ways that you can transfer property often leave wide gaps for an unscrupulous person to take you for a ride. A lot of us, once you purchase your home, you put those documents away and you don't see them again. As Joanna also mentioned, Detroit is an area that participates in non-traditional banking. That means a lot of people did not purchase with a mortgage, they purchased with a land contract. And they may not have known that in order to preserve their rights under that land contract, that they should have taken it to the Register of Deeds. They may not know that you have to provide proof of ownership if you want to take out a home equity line of credit, or if you want to negotiate a payment plan with the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, or if you want to make sure, as everyone on this panel will mention, that generational wealth is kept. You have to have what is known as title to that property. So I know some of you have notebooks or some of you have flyers. Write down a couple of key terms that I'm getting ready to talk to you about. Title. That means ownership. Okay? Warranty deed. Write that down because your panelists are going to go over what a warranty deed is. The next key term is quit claim deed. That's Q-U-I-T as in Tom. Claim, C-L-A-I-M, deed. You heard another term, ladybird deed, exactly how it's spelled, L-A-D-Y-B-I-R-D, ladybird deed. Another term is title insurance. Title insurance. Now, we have a wonderful panel full of industry experts and elected officials who are here to educate you on what to do. We have Ted Phillips of the United Community Housing Coalition. We have Judge from 36th District Court, and we have General Counsel from 36th District Court. We have Mike Maher, Lakeshore Legal Aid. Harry, and don't let me butcher your last name.
Kalajarakis.
Harry Kalajarakis, who is your Deputy Register of Deeds. We have Emma Howell from Detroit Title and Escrow. Now, I'm going to ask that you write your questions down because as we go through this panel, you may hear something that you can use for later. And we may have time for question and answer interactive at the end of the program. Now, for our panelists, they're going to make sure that for you in the room and for our folks on Zoom, that they give out their name, phone number, and email at the beginning and at the end, all right? So you'll have more than one opportunity to write down their information. Now, at this time, our first speaker is going to be our Deputy Register of Deeds, who's going to talk to you about the Register of Deeds office.
Oh, good evening, everybody. I am Harry Kalajarakis. I am the Chief Deputy Register of Deeds, Wayne County, Michigan. I bring you greetings from our Register, Bernie Youngblood, who happens to be in Virginia right now. He's at the Property Records Industry Association Conference talking about this very topic. They asked him to come to talk about deed fraud and what we're doing here in Wayne County about this, because Mr. Youngblood has been on top of deed fraud, unfortunately, for 20 years. He started a joint task force with our office, the Sheriff's Department. At that time, Warren Evans was the sheriff, and with Kim Worthy in the prosecutor's office to team up and handle this problem. We see this problem because we handle the real estate documents. Let me tell you a little bit about the Wayne County Register of Deeds office and what our job is. We are a constitutional office. We are required and charged with making an accurate record of every single document that affects real estate in Wayne County. And when I say every document, it could be a deed, and you've heard about the different types of deeds. Could be a mortgage, could be a lien, could be a tax bill, could be a judgment lien. There are all sorts of things that can be recorded that have to do with real estate. Our job is to make an accurate, complete copy of that document, to catalog it in such a way that people can easily find it and return that original back to the people who we are instructed to return it to. Now, one of the things with our office is we do look for certain things, and we will reject a document. I mean, we need to make sure if it's a deed, a grantor, the seller, a grantee, the buyer. We need to make sure their names are there. There's an address for the grantee. We need to make sure there's a property listed on there. What property does this have to do with a legal description? We need to make sure it's dated, signed, notarized. A few other things that we're looking for on there. But if all of that information is there and it looks like it's there, we have to accept the deed. We, by law, cannot verify any of that information on there. If it says the notary is Donald Duck and he's got that stamp, I have to take it, because sometimes people do things like name themselves or their kids Donald Duck. We don't know. It's not up to us to challenge. And the reason is because this is a race to record state. Race to record. That means if you get to the register before somebody else, you have certain rights over that person. One of the things that many people who have mortgages are probably familiar with the terms first mortgage and second mortgage. What that means is that first mortgage got there first before the second mortgage. And the first mortgage has rights over the second, which I'm not going to get into. That's why we cannot verify the documents. But what can we do? We make a record out there. We have our task force. Our task force, and there is a number for it. It's 313-224-5869. And there are flyers back there, and that number's on there again, but 313-224-5869. If you think that something's happened with your property, you can call, and we'll pull up those documents, and we can start looking at it and review them with you. And if there is something going on, we have a direct line with the prosecutor to send that over to make a referral to them, for them to start the full criminal investigation. And the prosecutor then, when they gather their evidence, they will charge people for forging documents, for filing false documents with the Register of Deeds office, and charge notaries. One of the things that Mr. Youngblood did when he found out this was a problem, through researching the laws, found out that for a notary, and now remember, notary's job is to say, yes, this person signed this deed. Harry's selling this property. He's here in front of me. I see him sign it. He's showing me ID. I know it's him. Yes, he signed it. But too often in these fraudulent deeds, the notary's just signing something and never saw the person sign it. Now, when Mr. Youngblood took over, he found out that this was just a misdemeanor, up to 90 days in jail and a fine for not doing it. He petitioned the legislature, and he got the laws changed so that it is now a 5-year felony for a notary to say that they've witnessed a document when they didn't. And we prosecute notaries. or the prosecutor does. We encourage them to. So this is part of what we do out here. But how can you protect yourself? We have check out this flyer. We have a property alert system. What you can do is you can register, and you're going to have to go to our website, WayneCountyLandRecords.com. It's all one word, WayneCountyLandRecords.com. And check out our website. You're going to have to create an account, and it's free, but you're going to have to create an account with your email and a password so you can get in. And once you do that, you're going to select the property alert icon. And that property alert will take you to a page, and you'll have two ways to go out there and do that. And there's some instructions on the website. The easy way is something called keywords. And keywords, you just put in your name, for instance. If it's you and your spouse, you put in both names. I even have people who they're worried about their parents or another elderly relative. You can put in your parents' name so you can get an alert. And what will happen is whenever a document comes into our office and it is recorded and it has the name that's put in there for that keyword, you'll get an email from us saying, hey, we got a document over here. Did you? And this is an opportunity for you to say, hey, is that true? Is that mine? Let's find out. And you would call that number that I gave you earlier, 313-224-5869. And we'll pick up the phone. Well, you'll have to leave a message, but we'll return the call, usually within 24 hours, and review the document with you. Pull up the document and look at it with you and say, hey, this is what it's about. And you can sit there and say, oh, wait a second. That is something I just did. Yep, that's good. I'm happy with that. You might get a false alarm because there are a lot of common names out there. And you might find out, oh, no, wait a second, I have nothing to do with that. But good, I'm glad I got an alert anyway. Or you might find out, hey, wait a second, that is my property. Hey, wait a second, I didn't do that. And you can come on in and we can start the process so we can help you to address this problem. And one of the issues is that in our office, since our job is to make an accurate record, we have to be objective and we need to be hands-off on the documents. That means even if we are convinced 100% that the document is false, there's nothing we can do about it. We can refer you to an attorney, we can refer you to the prosecutor. The only way a document that's already in our system can be changed is through a court order. And some of my other panelists will talk about that out there. But with Property Alert, you can get on top of this quicker. The quicker you get on it, the quicker you can solve the problem. And how can you protect yourself otherwise? I'm going to tell you this, a lot of properties that we find that are being victimized, a lot of them look like they're abandoned or vacant, right? People figure, well, I see somebody going in and out of this house all the time. Why bother with that one? But I see this house nearby that doesn't look like people are in there. They come by occasionally, and that would become a target for your property. They also might be targeting people who are behind in taxes sometimes. So you want to pay attention to your tax bills. You want to pay attention to your notices that you get with the taxes. But those are, but you can avoid being a victim. Look at your deeds. We are charged, we have to, under the Constitution and the state laws, accept all documents of all the pieces that are there. But we do want to help you. If you think there's a problem, we know that this is a problem. That's why we have Property Alert. It is free. Please sign up for it. We do have our deed fraud team that will look into any questions that you have. Please, anytime you have any doubt, call us and we'll check it out. I do want to say, though, there are certain things that we will not investigate. One of them being landlord-tenant disputes. If you come to us and say, hey, I'm beginning to wonder whether or not my landlord owns this property, unfortunately, that's not something that we're equipped to handle. Also, if you say, hey, I'm being foreclosed for taxes or my mortgage is being foreclosed and I think there's something fishy going on, Again, in those situations, we cannot help you. You'll have to go seek other legal assistance. But otherwise, if you think that somebody's put something on your property that doesn't belong there, call us. We will investigate and we will help you deal with it as best we can. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deputy Register of Deeds. Thank you. At this time, the next voices you will hear are from members of the 36th District Court bench. Take it away.
All right. Good evening. I'm Reagan Evans. I'm the presiding judge of the Landlord Tenant Division. And you know how, so obviously I do landlord tenant cases, and how deed fraud comes about. I don't, as the deputy register of deeds indicated, they, you know, if you have a deed, it's filed. I don't make the determination if a deed is legit or not. If I have a deed and someone says, hey, I'm the owner of the property, and they're trying to evict someone, then if they've shown me proof, then they're likely going to get a judgment for possession. And so that's why it's really important that we have some kind of, you have some kind of deed protection, because I don't make that determination. If someone comes and there's competing deeds, then I can stop the case and say, hey, you guys need to go to circuit court. And then the circuit court judge then can determine whose deed is legitimate or not. But that's not a determination that I make. And so a lot of times I see cases where individuals may be residing in a property, and then someone who has a fraudulent deed pretends to be the owner, and thank you. Is this, oh, okay. They pretend to be the owner, and they're not. And they get the money and they disappear. And so then the real owner comes and says, hey, I want these people out of my house. They're squatting, and I have to kick them out because they have to vacate because they're living in this property. They've paid some person who's disappeared who wasn't really the owner, and it's just really a sad situation. So it's really important that, like I said, you guys, if you have a deed, that you're protected so that these situations don't happen. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
I'm David Cross. I'm the general counsel for 36th District Court. And I guess the only thing that I'd add to what Judge Evans gave us is that we typically, a lot of times what we'll see is a lot of you may have income problems and not your principal residence. And so what these bad people will do was they will rent out your rental property if it's vacant to someone else. And they will, after not having paid rent or whatever the case may be, they come to court and try to evict the tenant. The tenant will then come in and basically argue that the plaintiff, in this case, the owner, the person trying to evict them, the landlord, is not the owner. But the owner will come in with a quitclaim deed, and it may very well be fraudulent. But we're a court of limited jurisdiction. And so we cannot make that determination of who owns the property or not. We can only settle disputes regarding who gets possession. And possession means that if the landlord wins on a fraudulent deed, they have a right to possess the property, eventually get a writ, kick the person out, rent it to someone else, all the time collecting rent that rightfully should go to you. And then the other thing is, a lot of these properties may have some issues, and the landlord is renting it out and not taking care of the property, et cetera, and that may fall eventually on you as the property owner. But we again can't follow the judges of the court. My clients, we can't settle those disputes. So it's very important that I think the tool that was introduced by the Deputy Register of Deeds, getting notification that something is wrong, that would help avoid that problem where you know that someone is filed a false deed on my say rental property, and they may actually be trying to rent that property out. And if they get a judgment, if an eviction occurs, they're going to be able to come in, change the locks, and get somebody back in there. And there's not a whole bunch that we can do about that unless the real property owner shows up, cooperates, even if the tenant is there unlawfully, if you cooperate with the tenant to show that you actually own the property and the deed that they presented to the court is false, then you guys hopefully can work some things out and you get to keep your property. One of the requirements of the statute is that when a landlord comes in and says that they have a right to the possession of the property because the tenant has not paid the rent, is they have to show proof. And so if they can't show proof, they come in and just say they own it, but they don't have any proof, they won't get a judgment. But if they come in with a quick claim deed, the judge is not going to challenge that on its own. And part of my responsibility is, and it happens often, almost on a daily basis, I have to advise the judges on those types of issues. So it's a very important issue in the landlord tenant division of the 36th District Court, that the proper owner of the property is present in court to prosecute the case, as opposed to someone who is not. They're just trying to get the rent.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that informative presentation from 36th District Court. Now, the next voice you will hear is going to be Ted Phillips of the United Community Housing Coalition. Take it away, Ted. Hold the mic up real close.
Thank you. Thank you. And pleasure to be out here with all of you. I'm the director of the United Community Housing Coalition. I've been there since 1984, served a couple of years in the Archer administration. Housing Coalition does a number of different things. We provide legal representation in 36th District Court for tenants and also for homeowners, land contract buyers. They go through the same process with that court. We get cases where tenants are brought in where they have a fake lease, if you will, somebody that they entered into. We also get, I'll go into in a few minutes, cases where the homeowner themselves are in being evicted. So that's an area where we are very active. There's over 20,000 cases a year in 36th District Court. It's very important to get legal representation. We also do some case management work, which involves going out and knocking on doors when people miss their court hearing. Unfortunately, about a quarter of the cases in 36th District Court end in defaults. That means usually that the tenant does not appear. Very often what we hear is that they don't know about it. And what we all know since 2020, what's happened in Detroit with regards to mail service, we can know why many don't know about it, which is why we do door knocking, phone calls when we can, and things of that nature. We also engage in providing some level of financial assistance when we have it, or connecting tenants up to other kinds of resources so they're not evicted. Sometimes it isn't a matter of there's a lot of legal defenses, but they only owe a couple months rent or something like that. They lost their job, whatever. Getting some financial help is extremely important. We also do relocation. There's many of these homes, as council said a minute ago, are in bad condition. Whether they should be there or not, legally, if there's raw sewage in the basement, there's young children, there's no heat in the winter, and there's not going to be heat in the winter, no matter what the honorable judge decides, then we need to get people like that out of those homes and into something decent and safe. We also engage in, and have since 2003, tax foreclosure prevention work. If you know anybody, and that's the biggest issue right this minute, frankly, between now and March 31st, the biggest issue for Detroiters is tax foreclosure. It has been so every year since 2002, the first year that there was foreclosures under the new law that went into effect in 1999. If you know anybody that's got a yellow bag, that's the red flag, if you will, they're in jeopardy of losing their home if they have not gotten into a payment plan with the Wayne County Treasurer. I think Ms. Cotton's here tonight, which was on the agenda, I believe, and they can explain some of that, but it's important to get that addressed. After March 31st, the property can go to auction in the fall and you can lose your home. We've engaged in a process with the city of Detroit called Make It Home to actually buy back properties in July, working with the city of Detroit after foreclosure. And we've done 1,700 of those since 2017. So if you know somebody who's got a yellow bag, there are options to get out of foreclosure. There are options to obtain ownership to the property. We also work with helping homeowners obtain a HOPE exemption. What's that? That's a lowering of their taxes. based on conditions of poverty. We also work to make sure that documents are filed. If you're an owner and occupant of the property, you should have a principal residency exemption. That means you live there. That means your taxes are lower than an investor's taxes on that same property. We also file documents to show that that the property has changed hands and you are the owner. We also work a little bit, but not a lot, because most of our population is very low income and can't qualify for mortgages, as was mentioned earlier on by Ms. Hill. But we do some work there as well to help people out. We engage in filing a number of documents. We do deeds. We do claims of interest. What's claims of interest? What somebody mentioned earlier, that if you got a land contract, you should be filing it. Well, guess what? In Michigan, if you got a land contract and there's taxes owing on the property, you can't file it. It's one of the stupidest laws, and I hope somebody one day, someday addresses that, because one has nothing to do with the other. But you can file a memorandum of land contract, or you can file a claim of interest. That at least puts the next person on notice that you have some interest in the property. We have a land contract buyout program. We get involved in situations, very often court situations, where someone's about to lose their home because they are behind. This is very often after they've paid nearly 50% of what they owed. So they bought a home for $50,000. They paid it down to owing $26,000. And they fell behind a little bit, or they fell behind in taxes, or they violated their land contract in some other way. They're about to lose it. We've intervened to help them get back on track. And when necessary, we've even engaged to buy out some of those land contracts and allow them to enter into a zero interest land contract with us. Our experiences in deed fraud has changed over the years. I must say that, and again, I'm going back to 1984, 86 rather, and 84 as an attorney, 86 since the Housing Coalition. But we've seen a lot of changes recently, and I'm really happy to see those changes, but they haven't always been that way. Some of our more recent experiences with this, going back to August of last year, we worked with a lead agency on a right to counsel contract with the city of Detroit. We have 3 other partners. One of those is Michigan Legal Services. They had a case last August where there was a woman that came to court, and it was her second hearing. She was there for a termination of tenancy case. And she said, I'm the owner of the property. I've been the owner for a number of years, however many it was. We looked into the file, and what the file had was some very odd stuff. It had not a Wayne County Treasurer deed, but a forfeiture notice. Well, okay, that's something, but not enough to prove much of anything. And it had a deed from a religious sounding group, Hope something or other, to itself. It didn't make any sense at all. They were represented by an attorney. The plaintiff wasn't there. Case was adjourned for us to get some documentation, and we discovered that it was clearly a fraud. The attorney that was representing the plaintiff said, "Oh, we've got all sorts of other documents to show their owners," and he didn't. Case was dismissed. But we didn't stop there. Suzanne then went back and looked through the court files, which the court has been great about providing us access to. They're to anyone, but they, particularly with the Right to Counsel program, have been very helpful there. We discovered 3 other cases that were still active. One which involved a 70-year-old woman who had lived in her home since she was 10 years old. She was not there at the moment because she was having repairs done. She was staying with her daughter. So she knew nothing about this case. She only knew about it because we tracked her down and were able to get a hold of her and bring her in. Those 3 cases we were able to get dismissed as well. A 4th case, another case, unfortunately, there was actually an eviction, but it was in June before we had any knowledge of these particular cases. So this is a time when it is very important. I mean, if you know somebody who's gotten a notice and there's, this is ridiculous, I'm the owner, they can't be bringing me to court. Yeah, they can. And if the judge doesn't hear your side, whoever the judge is, they're not going to be able to rule in your favor. Some of the common things that we see in terms of these cases, the tax example was mentioned earlier. What happens there is very often, well, not very often, but sometimes what will happen is somebody's in tax foreclosure, they're depressed, they think they're losing the property, they don't think there's any hope, and they just give up. Somebody else steps in, gets a forged deed, goes to the Wayne County Treasurer, presents that, It's not questioned. Why would it be questioned? It looks legitimate. They get out of foreclosure, then sell the property to somebody else. The original owner doesn't even know what happened. They think they lost the property to tax foreclosure. That's a common thing we see. Vacant property, that was mentioned as well. You should be very concerned if you're buying a property from somebody you've never been to their office, you don't even have a good phone number, they want everything in cash or, something quick. It's a vacant property. The only time you see them is when you're on the property. We see more of that in terms of tenants getting scammed. And sometimes they don't even get the benefit of coming to the court. And the Detroit police should not be doing this, but we've seen a lot of cases over the years where the Detroit police have escorted the person out, even though clearly they were not a trespasser. They had a valid reason for being there, and they did need to still have a court action brought against them. We've had a lot of situations with dead persons, sometimes with the scam artists being so stupid that they sign the deed from the dead person. They forge the dead person's name after they died. Little easier than the other way. A lot of those are very often, some of those are often relatives, unfortunately. We just see it in probate issues. Other kinds of situations that are bad is when you see sellers that sell with documents that can't be recorded. And again, we get involved in some of those to be able to at least file claims of interest. But file with deeds, the documents that can't be recorded, they're not recorded, and that same seller then sells to somebody else, a form as well. Land contract sales are a huge problem in Detroit. We've seen studies that show that about 5% of land contract buyers from 2000, I believe it was 10 to 15 or so. The study was done in 23 to give time to see did they actually pay off. 5% of the land contracts that were sold by out-of-state, out-of-country investors is all that came to fruition with the Detroiter being able to own their home. With Detroit sellers, Detroit investors, it was 100% better, 10%. Ridiculous. A lot of this is because there are terms there that aren't fraudulent, but aren't understood by this buyer. You keep in mind you have a sophisticated investor that sold a lot of these kinds of properties, a buyer that desperately wants to own a home that may be seeing it, well, this is no worse than rent. I can get this on $600 a month for 3 years and I can own a house for $40,000. Not looking at the 11% interest and other things. No, you're not going to own a house that soon. In 3 years, you're going to have a balloon payment that's way more than you can possibly pay, and you're going to lose a home. So it's really important if you know people buying on land contracts, that can be a decent way, a good way to buy a home. If you're dealing with a nonprofit, if you're dealing with a respectable seller, that can be a good way to buy. It can also be a disaster if you're not dealing with those kinds of things. Also in land contracts, obligations to get home insurance can be really difficult. In Detroit, it's very expensive. Who does repairs and things like that, those need to be spelled out in the document. Lease purchase deals, what we have seen are almost always scams. They're set up to be like a land contract, responsibilities on the tenant buyer. Well, actually, usually they say buyer all the way through, except for if you miss a month's payment, it becomes rent and then you get evicted as a tenant. We have had a lot of cases like that. We've been able to litigate and show that they're land contracts. Steps that you can take to prevent some of this, it's been mentioned already, make sure that you get as much as you can recorded. If your document can't be recorded, come to us, get some other help. Let's get another kind of, if nothing else, at least a claim of interest that is your statement, putting it on record, your interest in the property. If someone else is claiming ownership and bringing you into 36th District Court, don't ignore it. If you've missed your hearing, come get help. We have restrictions on who we can help based on income. That's whether grant with the city of Detroit, but we're not going to turn you away, at least give you advice and refer you someplace. If you're making payments on your land contract or rent or whatever, make sure you get documentation of that. Another thing we see all the time is that the buyers can't prove what they have paid other than their money order receipts. Those are some basic things. There's some flyers I have over here on the side that have various numbers for us, numbers for our landlord tenant work, numbers for our tax foreclosure work, and I'd urge you to pick them up. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Attorney Ted Phillips. Thank you. Now, you all have heard how to get help and how to protect yourself if this happens to you. Now, let's take it one step further because you've heard the probate process mentioned many, many times. Next, we're going to hear from Mike Maher from Lakeshore Legal Aid, who's going to talk about the Homes for Generations program.
Thank you. I'm Mike Maher with Lakeshore Legal Aid, and it's tough following Mr. Phillips. But we also do a lot of things with the landlord tenant in the real estate, as does UCHC. A couple things is, again, I'm Mike Maher with Lakeshore Legal Aid. If anybody has any issues that I'm going to go over, I do have the intake forms with me today. If you want to get started today, we can fill out those forms and get you in the queue. As well as we have an 800 hotline that you can call. We have the pamphlets out there for the Homes for Generation Clinic. And I just want to talk to a couple things and we'll get to the Homes for Generation clinics. Like Mr. Phillips had said and everybody has said is, you know, when you have an issue with whatever it is, your title or something doesn't seem right, don't ignore it. Call somebody. Hey, what's going on here? We can review it. We can look at it and get it corrected. Get it corrected sooner rather than later. A couple of things that Lakeshore does do on the real estate side is we will do the quiet title actions like Ms. Underwood had said earlier about having a court order. So if there's an issue with the deed, we can help you prepare that and go through the Third Circuit Court to get that corrected, get the court order that says, yes, I am in fact the owner. So what we have on the Homes for Generations clinic is what we are finding, and it's through the probate. We work through the probate court is when you have your father, your grandfather, your great grandfather who owned the home, or your parents owned the home, and then they died, and nobody did the paperwork to get it into the correct person's name. So we'll go back one generation, two generations, you know, whatever it takes. And sometimes it's quite involved. Again, don't ignore it. Let's get it done earlier. There's a case that we talk about 2 years ago. It started, it had 15 different people we had to go through to get them to sign off to allow the person who's been living in this house for 30 something years to stay in that house. So sooner is better for us. The Homes for Generation Clinic, we hold it once a month over in our Dearborn office. So you're free to sign up and go to that clinic. And again, there's an intake form, and then you'll get assigned a staff attorney to go over that to get the title in your name on your real estate. So why is that important? Well, number one is, like we had talked about earlier from everybody, is you don't want to be the last generation to own a home in Detroit. So let's get it in the proper generation. Additionally is when you don't have the house in your name, it's sometimes difficult to get the property insurance. If you do run into tax issues, they may not necessarily do a tax payment plan with you. I will say though, is if you're in that situation and you do have a tax issue, come to us. We'll start the probate process, and the treasurer's office has been really good about, okay, we're in the queue for probate, or yes, we have a personal representative, and then we could start working on our payment plan for the treasurer. If you ever wanted to get a home equity loan or something off of the house, you can't get it. It's not in your name, it's in somebody else's name. And then another thing we see a lot of too is when there's the hole in the roof, or the windows are broken, or the furnace is broken, and there's grant money out there for those things to get fixed. They'll apply for the grant, and I say, guess what? You're not the homeowner. We can't help you out there. So again, right away, get a hold of us. We'll get you in the queue. We'll get you into the probate court process. We'll do emergency filings. And most of the time, if we get you appointed as a personal representative, that person, the personal representative, steps into the shoes of the homeowner. So we think we can get you the what you need on the grant there as well. So that's the Homes for Generations clinic. Again, if anybody is in that situation, I got the intake forms. If you want to, you can fill it out now. You don't have to go to the clinic. We can get you working on it. If you think later about it, we have an 800 number you can call, but we'll take care of you in the probate matter. I want to jump back though on a couple things on the deed fraud. I just had a little things I wrote down, like measures to help you avoid this defraud is Mr. Callo Caicos. Yep, as he said.
On the applicable section, I'll teach everybody how to say that.
I got it.
Their property alert is pretty interesting. There's a few people with my name in this county, and I'll tell you, one of them died about a year and a half ago. And I know this because I got Wayne County Register of Deeds sent me a notice, hey, there's been some filings in your name. And I go on there, of course, look at it and says, oh, I'm sorry, you died, but the system appears to be working in that regards. The other thing is, a couple other things is just on your regular credit. You can go to annual credit report and look at that every year, but you can also put a credit freeze. So that'll be a cue for some of the people that they can't get anything out of in your name with the credit freeze. And then with the annual credit report too, is that they have a fraud alert as well. And I think Ms. Underwood had mentioned before is every year, I mean, we have the fraud alerts, we have the property alerts, but every year, take a look at it. Wayne County Register of Deeds is free. It's easy to navigate, put your name in there and see what pops up. And if your name pops up as a seller and you're not a seller, that's a, obvious an issue. And then there was a comment about title insurance. Title insurance is great. It's fantastic for when you bought the property, but very few title insurance policies actually follow you along. So they'll fix it for what it is from this date earlier, but they don't necessarily go forward. So you got to be careful there with that title insurance. So that might not be a avenue for you. And then also on these deeds too, we like I said before, we do the quiet title actions. I have one case now, and it's not fraud. It was really poor drafting, or I don't know what the polite word is, but 30 years ago, and my client has been living in this house for over 30 years, but 30 years ago, a gentleman was taking his house and putting it into the name of his trust. Somehow he took the information to the attorney, and the attorney drafted the deed, but they put the property description of my client in this deed and filed it. So this year, we have an issue with the house. The roof is broken, and we go to apply for a grant. And then the Detroit Renew looks at it and says, wait a minute, we have an issue here. We have another deed with this other person. 30 years ago, this person put in a deed with your property description. So we're working on this now. And I say it's not fraud because thankfully, I think the attorney who drafted that deed, he's still alive, and I called him and I says, hey, do you remember what happened 30 years ago? He says, I sure don't remember, but I don't think there was fraud. I know the notary and all that stuff, everything is fine. And then we do look for the person who this gentleman who added the deed, and we found him in the Wayne County probate court records. He's deceased as well. So what we do is then we go to the Third Circuit Court and then file the quiet title action. Say, hey, here's all the titles that are the deeds that we have to prove that we've owned this for 40 something years. And by the way, there's just this one wild deed, and they just make reference to a legal description. So we think we're going to be pretty successful with that. But it's just again, the importance of having the document and the title and the proper person's name. Do it now, because you're going to need to do it for one of those other reasons that I said, and it's better to have it done now rather than later. And with that, again, if anybody has thinking about it or has a concern or an issue now, I have the intake forms. If you're interested, you can fill them out today, and I can get you starting in the queue tomorrow.
For our participants on Zoom, can you please give the intake number to Lakeshore Legal Aid? And as a reminder, we will have time for Q&A towards the end of the program.
So the telephone number for the call line is 888-783-8190. I'm sorry, 888-783-8190, And the website is michiganlegalhelp.org. michiganlegalhelp.org.
Thank you very much, Lakeshore Legal Aid. Now, we are going to hear for the next 10 minutes from Miss Emma Howell of Detroit Title and Escrow. And as a reminder, go back to those terms that I told you about at the top of the meeting, because she's going to hit almost every one. Emma?
Good afternoon. No, we're going to start over. District 4, good afternoon. How are we? Why are we here? Deed fraud? We want information about deed fraud? Why do we want that information? So we want to protect our investment. We want our generational wealth. We want to maintain our legacy. Let's try it again. We want to do what? We want to protect our investment, protect our generational wealth, maintain our legacy. Okay, how do we do that? So early on, we talked about, and you were tasked with a few things. You were tasked with writing down some words, right? What was those words? All right, I got it. Okay, all right, great. So we're going to talk about all of that. I'm with Detroit Title and Escrow, and I'll share my information at the end. And I do have some pamphlets in the back, and I'll stick around as well. We're going to talk about everything that you were tasked with writing down, one by one. But what's most important is that we want to understand deed fraud. We want to understand how do we protect ourselves from being proactive versus being reactive. And you also want to understand, why am I here as a title company? As it was mentioned, the title company can only protect you so far in a transaction of any type of real estate transaction. The role of a title company is to protect your investment and provide you with tools as far as insurance, title insurance goes. Okay, well, what is title insurance, right? I saw a lot of you raised your hands. Some of you purchased your home via cash. Some of you may have bought your home through a land contract. Some of you may have purchased your home through a mortgage. Then I'm sure we may have some land contract, airships in the home, in the building, where you acquired your property through pass down of probate of some sort, right? So how do we protect that? What do we do? The first thing we want to understand is the difference in deed types. You were given 2 deeds. There's some common deeds, but the most common used or you hear in real estate is our quitclaim deed and our warranty deed. Ladybird deeds come when we're talking about probate, but we'll talk about that. But we hear mainly our quitclaim deeds and our warranty deeds, right? Do we understand the difference between those? Okay. So with a quitclaim deed, today, right now, I can give you a deed to this building. You give me $500? There we go. I'm glad you know that. And that's what we're going to talk about. Somebody in the audience, you give me $500. I'm going to write up and I'm going to give you a deed to this property, this building. And it's going to be a quitclaim deed. But as she pointed out, I don't own the building, right? I have no interest in the building. But how do you know that? You don't know me other than being with Detroit Title and Escrow and looking like a trustworthy person. So you give me that money. I give you a deed. You say, oh, I own the building now. I want to go and sell the building. That nice lady gave me a quitclaim deed to the building, and I want to sell the building, or I want to take out a loan on this building. And you go to a title company, and they say, she doesn't own that building. I say, well, I thought I did. I gave you whatever interest I thought I had, right? You got because you didn't do a title search. You didn't do your due diligence. Okay, well, we're going to flip to that. What if I gave you a warranty deed? I own it because I gave you a warranty deed? Right. It's the exact same thing. A quitclaim deed, I'm giving you whatever interest I have to the building, if any. If I'm in a divorce, I'm giving you my divorce baggage. If I have any state or federal tax liens against me, I'm giving you that baggage. If I have a judgment against me, I'm giving you that baggage. I'm quitclaiming whatever interest I have in the building and any issues that may come with it if I have any, right? But I don't own it. So you just got. Versus, I give you a warranty deed. The key component is warranty. So you hear that, you think, if she's warranting this, she can sue me, or you can sue me. Because the word warranty means I warrant to you that the conveyance is free and clear of any liens being taxes, liens being open mortgages, liens being judgments, liens being someone else that may have an interest. I warrant to you before I give you that deed in exchange for that money, that property, that real estate is free and clear, right? And if for some reason it's not free and clear, I've given you this deed and now you want to refinance or you want to sell the property and you find out that there's some issues, there's some baggage, everything that I just identified, you can sue me, right? Because I gave you a warranty deed. You can sue me. You can sue me. I gave you a warranty deed. You absolutely can sue me. But guess what? I got $5. I can give you my $5. So there's a difference with that. So what you want to understand is quick claim deed, no interest whatsoever. We do use quick claim deeds, but we use them for other purposes, which we'll discuss. So don't think, oh, no quick claim deed, but we definitely don't want to use that as an exchange for a real estate transaction. Warranty deed, great. We definitely want a warranty deed because we can sue. But more importantly, what we want is title insurance. That's on the proactive end. Any real estate transaction that you're involved in where you're on the buying end or you're on the lending end, you want to be proactive. And the first thing you want to do is think, I want to do this transaction. I do want a warranty deed, but before I exchange money for that warranty deed, I need to engage a title company because I need that title company to do a title search because that title search will then disclose any and everything that's going on with that real estate that's of public record and that individual, that company, that trust, whomever the owner is. It will disclose that. So if the person's deceased and you're negotiating with someone else, it'll disclose, oh, wait, you're the niece of the descendant. You can't sell this property. You got to go through probate. If it's an LLC that you're negotiating with, we're going to say, oh, wait, we see that you have the ability or you're saying you want to sell, but we need to review authority docs. There's a level of due diligence we need to take care of. If you're dealing with an individual, as the title company, not only are we going to verify that they're the owner of record by a recorded document that the county has recorded, but we're also going to look and say, oh, wait, you're on title with Jan. John, where's Jan? Oh, Jan and I got a divorce. We need to review the divorce decree because perhaps Jan was awarded the property in a divorce settlement. Maybe you need to pay Jan some money when you sell the property, some of the proceeds, because Jan still has an interest. Oh, wait, John, you have an IRS lien against you. You can't transfer this because if you transfer it and that lien follows because it wasn't paid off because it's a lien, a judgment. So we don't only look at just the typical property taxes and if there's an open mortgage. There's a level of due diligence that we do. We examine documents that are recorded with the county records, whatever county it is, not just Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, all throughout Michigan. We're examining these documents to make sure that the person that you're negotiating with or you're interacting with, family member, friend, doesn't matter, that they do have the ability to sell that property or transfer that property to you, and they have the ability to do that. And if there's claims or interest, those things must be taken care of before that transfer is fully complete, before you give them money in exchange for that warranty deed. Now, yes, we do want the warranty deed. So keep in mind, we definitely want the warranty deed because the warranty deed does carry weight with the ability to being able to sue. But the beauty of it is when you engage a title company and when you're being proactive in a real estate transaction, you want that warranty deed in connection with title insurance. So you first want to do a title search. That's where we identify everything that's going on with the property, the individuals, or the entities. Then once we identify that, as those matters have been resolved, then we talk about let's meet and close, let's transfer the property or the ownership by way of a deed, a warranty deed. You take that title search and you turn it into title insurance. Now, what you want to keep in mind with that insurance, no, it does not cover you for future acts. Title insurance is something that goes from the past. So on a typical title search, we're looking at a property and what has taken place on that property for 40 years. There may be cases within that 40 years, and I believe, and I keep forgetting the young lady's name, and forgive me, but she told you early on, confirm what type of deed you have, or she asked in the audience, what type of deed do you have? There may be cases within that 40-year search where mom, way back when, 1975, was on a land contract with Bill, and she paid Bill off. Paid him off a long time ago. And that house has been in the family for all those years, and now you're ready to sell it. But guess what? Bill never gave her a deed once she paid him off from the land contract. After all that time. So granted, she's been in possession of that property. She's paid the taxes. Everything has been done. She's passed that property to the heirs by way of a probate. You guys are ready to go. But we still have Bill's interest out there because we in the audience didn't go home and look at our deed to see what type of deed we got when we got our property way back when to make sure if it was a land contract, we got a deed from Bill. That could prevent you from selling your property. So when we're doing the search, we're just not looking at what's current. We're going back to make sure that all the interests and any deeds that should have been recorded leading up to where we are, all that has been addressed because those type of things can prevent you from going forward. So a title search is a full search that ultimately turns into title insurance. Once you close on that property and you pay for the title insurance policy, and we'll talk about fees, I'll stick around, then it turns into title insurance. So if you have an issue after you've closed, a year, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, you come back to the title company and say, I want to file a claim because you protected my investment by insuring it and I got title insurance. Now that's on the front end, being proactive if you're buying. Now let's talk about if you already own your property, which I think I saw a lot of hands in the audience. Again, one of the most important things that you can do is now you definitely want to sign up for the fraud alert through the county. I encourage it, I encourage it, I encourage it. Because again, we're not able as title companies to protect you or to prevent fraud, just as the county can. It's an epidemic. It's happening right now. But what you can do, you can go home and you can pull out your deed. One, look at the type of deed that you have. Two, make sure if it was a land contract or make sure if a family member did pass away and they were supposed to transfer title to you, you did go through probate or you do have those proper documents. You also want to check your deed. If you don't have your deed, you need to contact someone on the panel, the county, Ted, myself, to get a copy of your deed to make sure you look at that deed for a couple of reasons. Perhaps when you acquired the property, you were just boyfriend and girlfriend in the audience. And only one of you went on the deed. Now you've gotten married, but you didn't add the wife or you didn't have to add the husband. That could create a problem for probate. That could create a problem for passing that property down through the family lines because the wife like, oh, husband died, I think it's mine. Nope, got to go to probate. You can't pass that on to your children. Again, I mentioned the land contract. The other thing that you want to think about is trusting folks. We talked about notaries. Just because they're notary or they're considered an officer of the state, you still have to be careful with signing documents. Someone comes to you and say, oh, I want to offer you money for your home. Just give me a deposit and sign right here. If you're not clear on what you're signing, you shouldn't be signing it at all. You want to contact an attorney. You want to contact a real estate agent. You want to contact a title company. You want to be mindful of that. I heard someone say, hey, I can verify ownership by the city assessor's site or with the property transfer affidavit. Absolutely not. A property transfer affidavit only lets you know who the taxpayer of record is. It does not guarantee ownership. So if someone presents a property transfer affidavit to you saying, oh, I got your property. Oh, I'm the owner of this property. No, they're not. You as individuals holding on to your property, you never sign anything unless you fully understand. You can always call those that are of a profession to help you with that. So we want to be proactive, but we also want to be reactive. And right now, because we don't have a solution to stop folks from recording documents, we have to just think about it. Think about what you've learned from the panel today. Think about those that you can call and say, hey, I got a question on these documents. I have a question on my deed. There's resources up here that are available to you, and we want to utilize those before we become that victim of fraud. And if that happens, it's taken away from our legacy. It's taken away from that generational wealth that we want to leave to our family. Now we're not able to protect our investment because you may have gotten title insurance on the front end, but if something happens on the back end and you're not being reactive to it, then everything was just done for nothing. So again, what we're going to do when we go home tonight? We're going to check our deeds, right? What type of deed do we really want if we're doing a real estate transaction? We're going to talk about those ladybird deeds for you. We want a warranty deed. And keep in mind, real quick, whether you're doing land, contract, mortgage, cash, it doesn't matter. You can still get a title search. You can still get that title insurance. It's just a matter of doing your due diligence before you surrender that money in exchange for that document. So again, I'm Emma Elder with Detroit Title and Escrow. I'm one of the principal owners. We're one of the few minority companies in the city of Detroit, 985 East Jefferson, Detroit, Michigan, 48207, heart of the city. Our website, www.detroittitleandescrow.com. And the last thing,
Ladybird.
oh, okay. The phone number is 313-846-5200. I got to take a few more minutes because I heard Ladybird. So, 5200. I have some flyers in the back that has our phone number on there along with the website. And like I said, I'll stick around. Now, let me just make it real clear. I am not an attorney. So I want to put that out there. But with respect to the different type of deeds, and most importantly, why one of the reasons you are here is you want a ladybird deed. We hear that quite often. And that's a deed that allows us to prevent, in most cases, our survivors or those that are surviving our death from having to deal with probate. So we see it quite often. We draft them, and you have the attorneys on the panel that can help with that as well. But for those of you that currently own your property and you've owned it for a very long time, or perhaps you just got it, but one of the things you're concerned with is, what is the best way to keep my home in the family and them not having to deal with probate? We want to consider a ladybird deed. Essentially, what a ladybird deed is you own your property and you're now deeding that property from yourself over to someone that you trust, that you know are going to follow out your affairs, and you want to leave that home to them. So you retain your ownership of your property as long as you are alive. But upon your death, their ownership kicks in. So you can still finance, you can refinance your property, you can sell your property, you can do whatever you choose to do. The only time that person's ownership will kick in is up on your death. Okay, that's the purpose behind the ladybird deed. One of the things you also want to be careful with, if you choose not to do a ladybird deed, which is the ideal way to go right now for probate purposes, and of course you want to speak with the other attorneys regarding power of attorney documents, durable attorneys, things like that, to help carry out your affairs if you become incompetent or you're just not able to make business decisions. If when you do these type of documents, ladybird deed, trust, any of that, you want to make sure not only have the document drafted, but you want to make sure whomever's assisting you with it, you get it recorded. See, because some of you may have ladybird deeds you've already drawn up right now. You had them drafted and you got them waiting, but you don't have them recorded. So if they're not recorded, meaning they're not of public record, how does anyone know what your wishes were? And because of the rise of fraud and everything that's going on right now, as much as we understand what the intent was, we cannot always take everything for face value. And I mean, I've been doing this for 26 years. And I seen 5 years ago, documents, folks will come in and say, hey, yeah, mom had that document. We found it in the safe. And we would accept that document as face value and go ahead and proceed with that transaction to the son, to the nephew, to the daughter, to the niece. We can't do that now, because it's so much fraud. And a lot of the fraud is within our family. And as it was pointed out, we've seen where folks have forged names after someone's died. That's one of the things we look for when we're examining documents. We're looking at signatures. We're looking at, when did this person die? When was that deed signed? What is the notary commission? This is what we have to do now to be able to protect your investment. So again, where there's those cases that you have those documents now, the deed, the trust, if they're not recorded, it won't always work in what you're looking to do. Again, because of this epidemic that we're going through right now. So if you have that ladybird deed, make sure it's recorded. If you're working with someone to have those documents drawn up, make sure that after they're drawn up, that person is going to record them or you're going to record them. But that's key. And when you're doing other documents, keep in mind, ladybird deed, if you're adding someone, if you don't do a ladybird deed and you're just adding your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, whomever the title, be mindful if they're financially responsible. Because sometimes, Mom, we want to add our son and our daughter to the title, or we want to add whomever because they're taking care of us, and we're saying we're going to just put you on title with us to help us make financial decisions. And if they're irresponsible, their actions will now impact your real estate. It's like your credit. I got good credit. I've been holding on to my credit all these years, and now I didn't co-sign for you, and you didn't mess my credit up. I didn't have my house for all these years, free and clear of any liens, and I didn't put you on here, and you did what? Mess my house up. Think about it like that. Again, I'll stick around. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emma. And in the same vein of protecting your property, we have the Deputy Wayne County Treasurer, Dawn Lee Cotton, to talk to you a little bit about what she can do to help you protect your property.
Good evening, everyone. First, good evening. I'd like to bring you greetings from your Wayne County Treasurer, Eric Sabri. My name is Dawn Lee Cotton. As she said, I'm the Deputy Treasurer of Forfeiture Foreclosure at the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. So as Mr. Phillips and Mr. Donald mentioned, we have payment plans for owner-occupied properties facing foreclosure. If you have delinquent 2023 and prior year taxes that are currently delinquent, you have until March 31st to get those taxes paid. You have until March 31st to get into a payment plan or to pay those delinquent taxes in full. And that's why it's important to make sure your deed is correct, so you're able to apply for your PRE exemption with the city assessor's office. And with that 100% PRE, you're able to enter into 2 payment plans that we offer at the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, which is the distressed owner occupied extension plan and the URSPA plan. So it's an interest reduction special payment plan with our treasurer's office. And so with those, you have to show 100% PRE and that you own the property. So in order to show you own the property, you have to have a good deed to go down to the city assessor's office in order to enroll in those programs. I think Mr. Donald or Mr. Phillips mentioned the probate was mentioned. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the probate was mentioned. And with that, if you filed a probate action and it is open and active and you can provide the required documentation, you can contact our office and we may withhold your property from this year's foreclosure upon review. So as they've stated, we're here to help. The Wayne County Treasurer's Office does not want your property. We want our communities thriving and we want properties to be owned and occupied and want you to stay in your home. So we are here to help. You can give us a call at 313-224-5990, or you can contact us at WCTO payment plans at waynecountymi.gov. So we're here. You have until March 31st to pay your delinquent taxes or enter into a payment plan. We will be around afterwards. We have a representative and Tisha Brown in the back who can answer any questions and give you more information on the payment plans that we offer. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Treasurer. Now, you've heard some really, really great information today. And I hope that you have been writing down your questions because at this time, myself and Joanna will be taking at least 2 questions from each side of the room. Joanna's going to cover this side. Well, Joanna's going to cover that side, and I'm going to cover this side.
Okay, and I'm just want to, before we start the question, I want y'all to also write down this. Property transfer affidavit. A lot of y'all not doing this. Property transfer affidavit. When you bought property from the Wayne County auction and you took it down to the county registered treasurer office, guess what? You stopped there. You didn't go down to the city of Detroit. If you don't go down to the city of Detroit and do a property transfer affidavit, guess what? You're going to owe the city of Detroit some money. And also, you're not going to be able to get that PRE. PRE is primary residential exemption. So that is protecting occupied homeowners. Now, I know some of y'all got, investment properties. You cannot get a PRE on investment property. You can only get a PRE if you're the owner occupier, okay? So what you're going to do, if you got a property and you bought it, make sure you go down to the registered treasurer office, register it, get that seal from the treasurer, go down to the city of Detroit Department assessor, get your property transfer affidavit to make sure everything is transferred over to your name, and then get your homestead and your PRE. Okay? Don't forget to do that. All right? Thank you. Oh, well, if it's a timeline, if you haven't done it, you're gonna owe the city of Detroit money, and also it's a fine for that. Okay, so if you 9 out of 10, if you got a PRE and is a property taxes coming in your name, then you already have done that. But if it's not, then you have to do that. Okay. All right.
It's 45 days from generally when the deed is given to you. So if you got to count any type of deed, but it's 45 days from when you date of that deed. And it's $5 per day after up to 200 residential, and they will transfer to your tax roll. So
make sure you get it done. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Howard Thompson, and I bought my home on November the 23rd, 1983. And I bought it through First Federal, was the mortgage company that handled it. I paid it for 30 years, 25 years, and I paid it off. After I paid it off, I got a separate tax bill and said that the lot that sit on the side of my house that I put my gazebo on, I had to pay taxes on it. But long as the mortgage company paid the taxes along with my payment for much as 30 years. Now, with the title company, I'm ready to go mad after them. I'm mad as 90 Tigers now about that. Because they said the place where my gazebo sits now has an address. And with the title insurance, how did all of this happen?
well, the thing is, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I apologize because I put it on my notes. I put it on my notes. What we don't understand and what happened, what it sound like happened to you, and what's happening a lot, because I saw a lot of you said that you have your side lots. They have separate tax ID numbers. So your property has kind of like what we call a social security number. It's a tax ID number. So more than likely, and I can't say this for sure, but I see it quite often, and this is for you current folks, your house has one address and it has its own tax ID number. The lot is not combined with that. So the lot has its own address and its own tax ID number. So you technically have two bills. So when you close, depending on how the paperwork was drawn up, they probably only closed and gave you your mortgage and did everything for the house and the lot, and not the lot.
You had the dimensions of the property, where it ran, and how far back and far across. That consumed the land that was there.
That's true.
Now, I understand this too, that everybody with an address here and a zip code.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 4 extra numbers at your zip code. Some people know that, some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Those 4 extra numbers is the signature to your house. So we get a lot of different things where you say, because of this, it was a number, and this was a like a social security number. So a lot of things went wrong. I want to get paid. That's all.
Well, again, and I'm happy to take a look at your paperwork if you have it. But again, keep in mind that zip code has nothing to do with the legal description for your house and your lot. The zip code is for mailing purposes only. That's for the post office. That has nothing to do with what you truly own, the legal description for what your house sits on and the legal description for that lot. It's quite often that they're generally separate. And a lot of times, even back in the day, people would deed the house and totally forget about the lot because they don't understand that that lot has its own tax ID number, nothing to do with the zip code. Nothing to do with zip code. So, and again, I'm happy to look at your paperwork if you have it. Oh, well, I mean,
I understand that you said that you're not a lawyer, but what is my propensity to get some different?
We have to look at your paperwork first.
Okay.
Because what you think may be an issue may not. So we would really have to look at your paperwork. But for you guys and for the others of you, a lot of you mentioned you have lots. You want to look at your deeds and you want to make sure that your deed has both tax ID numbers on there, both legal descriptions, lock this and lock that, or the east or that. Or if you don't understand, you want to have someone look at your deed, because you want to make sure that you're paying for your house and your lot together, or you're paying two tax bills, because it's been cases where you're paying for the house and your lot got foreclosed on because you just did not know. So it's important that you do look at those deeds to make sure that you have everything combined, or you're paying both tax bills.
And also, especially if you bought lots from the land bank.
Yes.
They did a very bad job at clearing those titles. So make sure that you guys look at that's why I told y'all earlier, look at what you got when you got the receipt from the land bank with that quick claim deed, and make sure everything is right.
Okay, I'll let my I got two questions. One for the judges and one for the title. Thank you for acknowledging that if you pay the taxes, you may not own the house. When I buy a house, that was one of the first things that I did, is see who paid the taxes. And I thought that, you know, if you paid the taxes, you owned that house. I wouldn't buy it unless I saw that you were paying the taxes. But thank you for letting me know that I'm going about it wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And for the judge, can you explain the difference between repossession of your property when you take somebody to court, opposed to trying to get money back for rent? You want to repossess your property opposed to having somebody evicted for not paying rent.
There's two types of complaints. You're going to have a complaint to recover possession of property. And in that situation, usually there's not a current lease, and you want your property back. You're not asking for any money. The tenant might be month to month. And so in that case, you have to give them what's called a 30-day notice. And then after the 30-day notice, if they don't vacate, then it would proceed with the summary proceedings, when you'll come see me. If you file a complaint for non-payment of rent, then you give them, that's where the tenant hasn't been paying rent. You want money. And so you file a 7-day notice. And if they don't either pay what's owed or they don't vacate, then it will come to see me. And at that point, I give if it results in a judgment, I'm going to give them a pay or a vacate date. So they either have to pay what's the amount of rent that's owed, or they have to just vacate. But with the complaint to recover possession of property, they just get a vacate date. But for both, if they fail to comply with the judgment, you can request an eviction on both cases. I don't know if Mr. Phillips wants to elaborate more on that. I'm putting you on the spot, but I mean, you do that.
Well, it sounds like you may be a landlord. So for tenants out there, yes, we do intervene at that point to try to help them relocate sometimes. Or if we, to respect, think the court's made an error, we will, or something slipped by. I mentioned before, 25% are defaulted. They didn't even get there. They didn't know about it, whatever. We intervene at that stage to try to either make sure they have their rights protected, or we may intervene to pay the judgment in terms of a non-payment. Or sometimes, in subsidized housing cases, terminations, we're even intervening to pay off the back rent and help them move, because they need to pay off the back rent to keep their voucher, because if they leave owing money, they lose their voucher. So there's a lot of different nuances there that we would pick up on at that stage.
There is also the case where there may be a lease, or the rent may be paid in full, but the tenant has violated the lease. Selling drugs out the home, too loud, disturbances, et cetera, where the landlord can come in and say, listen, their leases, their rent is good, but we just want them out because they're not good tenants. And those are not the usual case, but we do see them. The judges do see those cases where they just want the tenant out and they want repossession of their premises.
Yes. Hello, Mary Waters. This is Manila Freeman back here. I want to know, is there an office for land surveying in the city of Detroit for low income? We have people that are taking like a foot or 2 feet, putting up fences in different people's area, and it costs so much to get your land surveyed. I've seen people fight. I've heard shootings. You know, this is bad where even though you may know the dimensions of your home, what are your actual dimensions according to the Wayne County land that you have your home on, if you follow me. I can't find a surveyor nowhere under $800 to come out and survey my home.
Very expensive. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay. The city has it, but you're gonna have to pay. They outsource it. The city has a process that you can go through, but you can't avoid paying. You can't avoid the paying. She want to see if it's a way to get it lower. It's outsourced, so that would have to be created. It's not done by the city. The city outsourced that responsibility to a third party, and that's why it's a charge. Okay. He had a question, then he got to go over here. Okay, we're gonna have time. We're gonna have time to take questions because I want to make sure we had time to for everybody to go up there and do those intake forms.
Oh, you so sweet. Yeah, I'll come out. My question, wait, let me get on this side. Okay. My question is also to landlord-tenant issues. Let's pretend I am a tenant looking for a place. And we have so many scams going around where people require you to give a 500 or some amount deposit, and they're taking applications, and each application $500, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it. My question is, we talked a lot about titles. As a tenant, how do I title or find out whether the person is asking for rent for that property actually owns that property, so that I don't get into some of those fixes where I'm in the property giving him my rent, and then 6 months later, I'm being put out on the street because that joker doesn't even own it.
Councilmember Waters created a tenants' rights commission. That's one of the reasons why it was made. She also have a pending ordinance dealing with the rental applications. So that's how you find out. And you can also call 1-866-313-25. No, 866-313-2520. I said that number. 1-866-313-2520. And follow the prompts, and they should be able to verify who's the owner of that property. Okay, we're gonna do two more. Two more. One more on your side, one more on my side. Okay, all right. He was waiting the longest, y'all. He was waiting. Don't kill me. He was waiting. He was. I promise you, he was.
Okay, I have my home, and I have 2 lots, well, 2.5 lots. Now on the 2 lots, I pay taxes, but on one of them, every time I look up to pay the taxes, it says 0. So, and I got the deed from the land bank, but
you gotta go down there. Yeah, you gotta go down there. Because you got to go down to the city of Detroit and do that property and transfer affidavit. That's why I said, if you bought property and you got a quick claim deed and it's on a lot, you have to go down, get the, make sure it's, registered with the county. And you also got to go down to the city. You got to make 2 trips and do the property transfer affidavit, and they'll put that lot in your name. Because a lot of times they was promised people to do that, and then they didn't do that. And we just settled a whole bunch of people who was done like that. Yeah, but no, well, because you don't have a property transfer affidavit on file, you have to file that. They can't initiate that. You have to initiate that because you was you purchased the property. That was your responsibility, not the city. You got to do that. You got a quick claim deed? Okay. Did you go? Okay. You got the deed from land bank? Did you register with the county? Okay. That's why. Okay, county, then city.
All righty, and our last question on this side of the room, and then we're going to pass it to our council members to close out the session and to allow you to stop by our resource tables, okay?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Mary Waters for bringing this to the communities so that we become more aware of what we need to know. Okay, my question is this transfer of property affidavit. My understanding that it's $2,000. I have acquired a family estate, and I need to know exactly how that works.
It's not $2,000 for residential. The fines for commercial is much higher. It's about $2,000 if it's not filed within a certain time frame. But that's commercial. But if it's residential and you acquire the property through probate, you just take your property transfer affidavit and your probate documents to the city assessor's office, the Coleman A. Young building. If anything, it's going to be up to that $200. And I say if anything, because if you go in there and you explain to the clerks, hey, here's my paperwork, I just didn't know, they may even waive it. I can't speak for the city, but I've seen that, and I've spoken with folks about that, but it's definitely not $2,000. But you do want to get it filed so that you can start making sure you're getting those tax bills and you're the taxpayer of record.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being such a great audience. Give yourselves a hand. I want to also thank you for listening intently, holding your questions, and making sure you absorb some of this good content. Now, before you all leave, we're going to hear some parting words from our wonderful council members.
Well, thank you all so much for staying, for taking all of the information in, and thank you to my colleague, Councilmember Mary Waters. I do just want to share that in June of last year, we hosted a conversation about deed fraud, and we had someone from the Register of Deeds office. Someone said to me that was the greatest meeting that they had attended. This is pertinent information. Know that scam artists are very clever. They are very slick. I want to uplift something that Mike Maher said earlier, which may have gone over many of our heads. So he talked about freezing your credit report. Know that there are people out there who are pretending to be you, to own your property, and there has been information about people getting a mortgage in your name because they pretend to be you. If you put that freeze on your credit report, it becomes more difficult for them to do that. So put the freeze on your credit report, sign up for the fraud alert with the county, make sure that you are being vigilant about what's happening with your property so that you do not lose it. Generational wealth is something that we have been trying to support as best we possibly can, but there are scam artists that are here trying to take every asset, everything that you own. So utilize the information. Please share the information and follow Member Waters. She has 2 additional town halls coming up within the next week. This information, especially if it is new. A lot of times you may need to hear it multiple times for it to resonate. Don't shy away from the information. Lean into it, understand it, ask questions, but please, it's all about protecting yourself, protecting your assets, and making sure that we can continue to build generational wealth so that your family members can grow from everything that you've done and continue to grow as individuals, as a part of your family. So please, please, please be sure to lean into the conversation and share the information. Thank you all so much for being here.
All right. And so I certainly thank Member Johnson. Listen, let's give our panelists a round of applause. Miss Emma, she's fired. We want to thank our Register of Deeds office. We want to thank the Lakeshore Legals. We want to thank our judges, and we would certainly want to thank UCHC, United Community Housing Coalition. I get a little tongue tied with it sometimes. You know, the C after before the H, all that stuff. Don't forget to register your property. Number one, don't forget to sign up for the alerts. Do not allow Ms. Emma and everybody else to leave here today. If you have some additional questions, they are here. Please walk up to them. Mr. Phillips, we are used to Attorney Phillips. We've worked with him a long time, at least since I've been on council, and he's been quite accessible. Make sure, listen, that you left us with your email address. We're going to be sending you some additional information in the future that will help you. Well, we're going to check on you. We need to know that you've done what you're supposed to do, right? Now, are there any victims in the house of deed fraud today? Okay, all right. Okay, we have a couple of people back there. Because, well, yeah, you got to check and make sure. Because what we're also trying to do too is work in conjunction with the Michigan State Legislature, because they have to pass some bills, right, to make it more difficult for people to commit this fraud. And so they are working on that. There might come a time, that's why I need your email address, that I might need you to testify about regarding the importance of such a law or laws, okay? So make sure that we're able to reach you so that we can do exactly that, especially if you've been a victim. The state legislature needs to hear from you. All right? So don't leave here unless we have your information. And thank you all so very much for coming out today to absorb all this information. It was a lot. Let's give our panelists another round of applause. All right. So Santana, you guys, what's next? They could just walk up and talk to people, right?
All right, hold on. Wait a minute. Everybody don't move at once. All righty. Please allow our council members to film their council corner. And if you are interested in filling out an intake form for Lakeshore Legal, can I have you in the middle aisle? Middle aisle, this way. If you want to fill out an intake form, starting right here at me. Yep, right here. Lakeshore starts right here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wayne County Treasurer's Office is in the back.